Most of what you want in life and don't have right now is on the other side of a conversation that you are not yet ready to have. Now, in this video, I'm going to walk through some strategies, some tactics you can use to go about having hard conversations, whether this is with a business partner or a member of your team, whether this is with your spouse, kid, whatever the case is, I'm going to walk you through how you can make these difficult conversations easier. And I'll start by introducing a rule of relationships. Now, there is only one thing that you are 100% responsible for in every relationship. That one thing is the consequences of what you do not say. This is a strange idea, so I'm going to reiterate it. The only thing that you are 100% responsible for in your relationships are the effects of what you do not say. Now, if you have information within yourself, thoughts, feelings, whatever, that could bring about some change in a relationship and you do not share that information with the other party, that is 100% your responsibility. They cannot pry that out of you. They have no way of knowing what they don't know. They don't know. Now, let's compare that with the effects of what you do say in a relationship. You, of course, share part of the responsibility for that, both what you say and how you say it. But of course, we all know that the other person's interpretation of what you say and how you say it, that plays a part of the consequences as well. So again, if there is a conversation that you have been avoiding, if there is something you have not said, the consequences of that are entirely your responsibility. So, with that out of the way, let's go about addressing how you can say these things, how you can make your way through difficult conversations with more grace and more ease. Now, I'm going to suggest that part of what is making this difficult conversation even more difficult are the negative predictions you make about how this conversation is going to go. Maybe you are thinking to yourself that the other person is going to take it badly. Maybe you're thinking that the relationship is going to be ruined as a result of it. Maybe you're thinking that, I don't know, what doomsday scenario are you thinking right now about the conversation you haven't had yet? We're going to call that a negative prediction. And this is one of the primary cognitive distortions that we engage in human relationships. We think something about the future, and the thought is along the lines of the future is going to go terribly. Now, when you think to yourself that the future is going to go badly, notice how you feel. Bad, right? Seems reasonable. When you think to yourself that things are going to go badly, you end up feeling bad. Now, this is a feeling that is caused by a thought. That feeling, the bad feeling, the worry, that's caused by your thoughts about the future. And this is very different from the feelings that are caused by reality and the events that occur in reality. So we can engage in a bit of reality testing here, and you might ask yourself, do you genuinely believe that you can predict the future? Now, I'm willing to bet the answer is no. If you go looking around the room here, you, I imagine, do not have a crystal ball at your disposal that grants you perfect predictive power over how the future is going to go, right? Now, what that means is that you find yourself in a state of uncertainty. You find yourself at the edge of the unknown. And it is perfectly normal. It's entirely reasonable. It's a universal human tendency for all of us to get a little bit nervous at the edge of the unknown. This, however, is very different from the kind of worry we experience when we make negative predictions about the unknown. So notice for yourself, you do not know with total certainty how this conversation is going to go. You could, however, Get curious. You could see if you can muster up your curiosity about this unknown situation. And when we find ourselves at the edge of the unknown, getting curious helps. Of course, a way that many of us deal with the difficulty of uncertainty is we engage in negative predictions. We manufacture a kind of false, constructed sense of certainty, albeit a terrible one that brings on all kinds of dread and worry and nervousness. So, if you can agree that you do not know how the future is going to go with total certainty, then you are, again, at the edge of the unknown. You're in a state of uncertainty. And the question then becomes, what do you want to be the result of this? Now, this starts to orient you toward the positive outcome that you were hoping to create as a result of this conversation. This encourages you to reflect upon the situation and figure out what is the goal here. What do you want to become of this? And if you're going to have a hard conversation, by God, I hope that you have given some thought to what positive outcome you're actually trying to create. A great deal of the difficulty people experience in having these hard conversations is that they're actually kind of fuzzy on what they want to come of this. So if you haven't yet, now would be a great time to figure out, what are you looking for? Are you intending to create a better working relationship and more team cohesion in your business? Are you intending to create more warmth and honesty and intimacy in your marriage? Are you intending to bring about more harmony in the overall family environment? What is it that you want to become of this? Now, when you have that outcome in mind, we're going to start to work our way backwards and figure out where you are with respect to that outcome. This is how you go about actually achieving the goals that matter to you. You clarify what the goals are, what they look like when they're achieved. You figure out where you are with respect to it, and you take the best next step, and then the best next step, and best and best and best, and gradually you make your way there. So some set of circumstances has made it necessary to have this hard conversation. We've already seen some ways to make this conversation less difficult. You get rid of the anxiety caused by your negative predictions. You clarify what you actually want to have happen. Now, the other thing you can do is reflect on the circumstances that have necessitated having this hard conversation. I'm going to encourage you to think about this in a three-part sequence. There are the facts of the situation. And the facts would be the observable events. So a third party could look in from the outside and see that these things have happened. The facts of the situation are very different from the frames that we often put on the situation. These are our interpretations of things. Frames might be, you were a total jerk to so-and-so. That's not exactly something that an external observer would see. But what an external observer might see is that when you walked in first thing on Monday morning, the first words out of your mouth were, I hate you, you ugly piece of crap, whatever the case is. This is a tangential example to something I talked about with a client recently, but I'll fudge the details slightly. So the first thing you said when you walked into the office on Monday morning last week was, I hate you, you ugly piece of crap. Even before you said hi, hello, even before you asked how you were doing, the first thing you said was, let's state the facts of the situation. So again, it's going to take some work for you to separate out the facts from the frames. Frames would be things like, you abandoned me, you rejected me, you acted like a jerk, I didn't think that was fair, on and on. let's look at if you were to write a screenplay, who are the actors involved? What are the actions that the actors took? So you start with the facts. You separate those from the frames. Now, this is where a lot of us run into trouble with hard conversations, is managing the boundary between external reality and internal reality. Part of what needs to happen here is for you to integrate the information between external reality, the actors and the actions, let's say, the facts of the situation, and the feelings involved in the situation. So this is where you can begin to say, when this fact occurred, when this happened, I felt. So when you walked in and the first thing you said was, I hate you, you ugly piece of crap, I felt angry, irritated, frustrated, whatever. Little different from I felt hurt, I felt disrespected, I felt like you shouldn't have done that. These are frames around the situation. And again, it's very important for us to clarify the internal emotional experience separate from the facts and separate from the frames. So, how do you feel about this fact? Maybe the fact is someone said they committed to having a report finished by the end of the day on Friday. The report was not finished, and the client for whom the report was due sent a nasty email, whatever the case was, canceled the contract, who knows what. What are the facts? And how do you feel about each fact? This is the hard internal clarification work you've got to do before having a hard conversation effectively. Because what you don't want to get involved in is merely blaming. You don't want to get lost in the frames. You want to make sure that you and the other person can agree to the facts of the situation and that you can make clear to them what they could never see, which is your internal feeling about the facts of the situation. So when you're having this hard conversation, again, it's brought about by some difficult set of circumstances. If you can clarify the facts of the situation that both parties could agree to, and you can then reveal your feeling about the situation, which the other party may have no way of knowing, then you're ready to have this hard conversation. So you do away with your negative predictions about how terribly it's going to go. You clarify what you want to become of this. You identify the facts of the situation and the feelings it evokes within you. And then you can approach this person and you could say, hey, I'd like to have a conversation with you. When this, and this occurred, I felt this. I felt frustrated. I felt irritated. I felt angry. I felt sad, whatever the case is. And what I would like is for us to find a way toward that thing that you want. This is where you start to speak for us, right? You take them into consideration here. So when ABC happened, I felt XYZ, and now what I would like is for us to find a way toward fulfilling that outcome. You can take it a step further and you could propose a point of consensus. You could say, what I think we perhaps can agree to as a next step to remedy this situation would be this. Do you agree that that's fair, reasonable, whatever the case is? You're looking for some point of agreement that would be the next logical step toward the achievement of whatever that ultimate end is. Now, if you make a proposition and they don't accept that, don't take it personally. They might have information that you don't know. So if they don't accept that proposition, ask them what they would suggest. And the two of you can then engage in a negotiation back and forth. You really must agree upon some bare minimum point of consensus. Can we agree that at the very least, our next step is this? And what you're looking for here is a very precisely defined situation. What do you want to achieve together? And how are you going to know that it has been accomplished? How are both of you going to be able to know that it has been accomplished? Now, that is going to give you a common goal to work toward. That is going to give you something to which the two of you can hold each other accountable. It's also going to be the best next step toward the ultimate end that you're looking for. And it is very important, if you want to go about having hard conversations, that you have an ultimate end in mind that takes into account what you want for us, the people involved in this hard conversation. So if this is something in the marriage, communication has broken down, something happened, someone's feelings got hurt, get rid of your negative predictions. Figure out what you want for everybody involved. More warmth, honesty, intimacy, closeness, whatever. Say, hey, this happened and I felt this way. This happened and I felt this way. This happened and I felt this way. And now what I want is for us to find our way toward more intimacy, more honesty, more warmth, more closeness. And what I think would help get us there is this. Do you agree? This may seem a little formulaic. It may be a little structured. And I'll say, yeah, sure. It's a little formulaic. It's a little structured. And these formulas, these structures, these can be very helpful to help us rein in uncertainty, to bring a little more order to what might be a chaotic communication. What this is helping you do is start to avoid some of the noise that occurs in communication. The primary sources of noise, according to information theory, are vagueness, redundancy, and contradiction. So you have done a lot of work up until now to remove vagueness from it. You're specifying what happened. You're specifying where you want to go. You're proposing a specific next step. And you can then work to reduce contradictions by looking for that point of agreement. That's going to give the two of you a shared goal specified quite clearly that you can move toward. And you can situate it in the context of this ultimate aim for the both of you. So this is how I would suggest to you, you can go about having hard conversations with more grace and more ease. At the risk of my own redundancy, I'll offer you a recap of these steps. First and foremost, make sure that you are not making a hard thing even harder by making negative predictions about how it's going to go. If you notice that you have thoughts occurring to you about how terribly this is going to go, your first step is to check those out against reality. Do you really believe that you can predict the future? Now, if not, that situates you in the midst of the unknown. The question then is, what do you want to become of this uncertain situation? What do you want for us, or the we involved in this conflict? When you've done that, you can figure out, well, what happened exactly? What are the facts of the situation? How do I feel with respect to those facts? And can I separate out my frames from it, my interpretations, my narratives, my stories? What are the facts? How do I feel? You're then able to bring that to the other person and say, hey, to have a conversation. This happened, this happened, this happened. And I feel this as a result of that, that, and that. What I would like is for us to move toward this ultimate end goal. And what I suggest is a way for us to do that is this. What I suggest as a way for us to do that is you get the report finished. You offer me an apology. We find a time to get back to regular date nights. Whatever the case is, you propose a first step, you look for agreement, and then together, the two of you do that. I mean, it's as simple as that. When you've got a point of agreement, you do that thing. You reflect. You acknowledge the progress made toward this ultimate end. And lo and behold, hard conversations get much easier this way. So I'll go ahead and pause there. If you have any questions about this, reflections you'd like to share, feel free to drop those in the comments down below. And without further ado, I will look forward to speaking with you in the next video.